So I was having quite a raw chat with one of my friends at the weekend. This is a guy who he's about to move back to his home country. So he's leaving my town. I'm not going to see him for however long, I don't know. And we were having quite a deep chat just about things that we'd been through, some stuff from the past. He told me some stuff he's never told me before. I told him some stuff about my past. And I felt really close to him in this moment. And one of the things that came up, one of the things that we had in common was historically and also in the not too distant past, some quite recent experiences of this. We both acted in ways which would be considered people-pleasing. In his case, and I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this, but he said that he often experiences thoughts of like, I'm a burden to people. If I ask for this, if I ask for help at work with something, or if I don't take on an unrealistic amount of responsibility, then I'm causing other people problems. That's kind of the gist of what he was saying. And I've experienced this too, especially since I started like this is my first 9-to-5 job. I'm coming into these teams as the new guy. And I worry that if I'm like asking for what is essentially like just my basic needs, like, can someone show me how to do this task in the right way? I just get all these paranoid thoughts like, I'm a burden to people. They're busy with their day jobs. They don't want to be like helping out the new guy. And oftentimes like I'll just sit there in silence when I should be asking questions. Or people will say to me like, Tom, are you clear on this? Like, do you understand? And I'll nod my head and I'll be like, yeah. When really I don't understand. When really I don't have a fucking clue. And I'm kind of trusting in this part of myself, which is like, I'll go away on my own and I'll figure it out somehow. Even though the opportunity is right there for me to ask for help, I kind of don't want to come across as weak or needy. And this is a part of myself that I've refused to acknowledge it for such a long time because of what it means, because of the connotations. And I talk more openly about this stuff now. And that's part of the acceptance process. But I think there's parts of my personality that are quite submissive. I have a tendency to apologize for things too much. Because when you fuck up, when you mess up, sure, it's right to apologize, but just how much of an apology do you owe the other person? I guess it depends on what you did. Like if you ran over someone's dog, I don't know why I just said that. If you ran over someone's dog, then yeah, like a proportionate apology would be like, making sure that you know what they did, they know what you did was serious. Like, you did something really bad. But if it's just something small, is it right to feel such a sense of shame that you would apologize like profusely? Or even try to hide what you did? Because that's another way this people-pleasing behavior comes out, like trying to hide your mistakes. But yeah, when I mess up, I do just tend to apologize way too much. Or I'll be like, I'm sorry. I use these words like, I'm sorry, or, I know it's a pain, or sorry for being a pain. And the fucked up thing is, oftentimes I haven't even done anything that wrong. Or sometimes the other person is the one in the wrong. Sometimes they've made a mistake, or they're the one actually like being a burden. I'll apologize. I'll act submissive. I made this YouTube video absolutely ages ago, talking about this situation that happened to me, because I stay in hotels for half of the week, just for work. And there was this situation where the hotel cleaners, they came in my room and they accidentally, like, I say accidentally, I don't know what happened, like I just haven't found out what happened. But they threw away like some of my property, like a very expensive item and hard to replace item. They just threw it out. And I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt, like they just didn't see it. Because I had it in this, basically what it was, you know, you get those like orthodontist retainers. So after you get your braces off, you get like these little like plastic retainers that keep your teeth in place, keep them looking straight. And I had them in like a little cup, so I can understand why someone would have thrown them out, but still, like, you got to be careful. And they cost me like £400 to replace. They're fucking expensive for what they are. But that began like this whole back and forth saga with this hotel, where I was basically trying to prove that they did it, and they were like, no, like we have a policy that says we don't compensate people for lost property. And eventually it became like them trying to discredit me and say that I never even took these retainers to the hotel when I did. And I was basically getting legal advice all throughout all of this, and I knew that I had like legal grounds to stand on, and I could have gotten my money back. Long story short, I didn't. But throughout all of this, I was sending emails to the hotel manager, and I was getting this legal advice, and I was getting them to review my emails, and they were just saying like, what are you doing? Why are you apologizing so much? Why are you softening the point you're making by adding like all these words, all these like apology words into your email? Like, it's making you come across as like less strong, it makes you have less authority, less credibility. And that was just my natural instinct, to apologize for something that I hadn't even done. And this is all textbook people-pleasing behavior. Avoiding conflict by any means necessary. Taking on too much responsibility. Apologizing for things that you haven't done. It can go deeper than that. It can be like changing the way that you act, changing your personality, your behavior, to come across as like more likable, and also more non-threatening, if that makes sense. Like, I was watching a video by this YouTuber called Luke Grenoble, and the video was on like how to deepen your voice naturally without using like all these weird techniques. And the most enlightening thing I heard in this video was that basically the main point was that if you don't speak with conviction, if you don't believe the things that are coming out of your mouth, you're never going to have a deep voice. Your voice is always going to be like a little bit croaky or squeaky. And he gave the examples of how around people that we think are more important than us, people who we deem to be higher status. For me, this looks like people who they have more seniority at work, or it could be someone famous. I've met a few famous people and this has happened without me even realizing. Your voice just tends to get higher because you deem them as more important, maybe even as like more of a threat to you, or like you're more invested in what they think of you. To come across as like more likable, or like more, or like less threatening to them, less basically like trying to stop them from getting annoyed at you. It doesn't even really make sense, but it's like a subconscious thing we do. Our voice naturally gets higher. And yeah, it's not something we're even aware of, but I've been doing this for years. And when I heard this guy say that, I was like, fuck, that's literally me. Or in certain environments where we kind of feel like when we don't believe in our own importance, or when we're trying to avoid conflict, we speak more quietly. Like, we don't want the people around us to hear what we've got to say. Like, we're not proud of the things we're saying. There's so many layers to this, and all of this was just so eye-opening. And I think what this traces back to is it's just years and years of childhood experiences where any form of conflict was just dangerous to me, would cause me like shame or humiliation. I think what it really comes from is this people pleasing comes from me knowing what it's like to feel alone, to just feel really alone in this world. When I was younger, I moved 100 miles south, like right before the start of high school. So I was 11 years old. I left all my friends in my village behind, all the guys that I've been going to school with, all gone. And I joined this new school and I just had no friends for 2 years. 0 friends. So at that point I was just desperate and I would have done anything to get people to like me or accept me. Like I would have changed my whole personality in a heartbeat if it meant someone would take me in. And the friend group that I did eventually get into like 2 years later, and I don't blame any of them for this, like I don't have harsh feelings because teenagers are just fucking mean. I tolerated a lot of bad behavior from them. Like I was just the laughing stock of the group, or maybe like 1 or 2 people who were just like the main source of entertainment for the group, constantly getting bullied and degraded for laughs, just easy pickings basically. But I tolerated this behavior because I never stood up to them, because I just was worried about being cast out again and being the kid with no friends. I think that's where the root of this problem is, or just any kind of experience where like conflict meant like. I bring this example up because it's like the tribe dynamics. Like we evolved in tribes, and to be rejected by the tribe or to get into conflict with the tribe, it was like a life or death experience. Like I imagine like tribesmen back then, they would actually like fight to the death over like issues they had. Or you would just be like kicked out of the tribe for causing trouble. And if you're out of the tribe, you have no resources, you're basically gonna die out in the wilderness. Sounds kind of stupid, but I looked into this and they say that like this need to like not be rejected, a lot of that is just like a biological impulse. And conflict and people pleasing, like all of this factors into that. Just trying to be accepted at any cost, no matter what it means for your sense of self and how much it tanks your self-worth. But in terms of solutions, and this is still something I'm learning about, but I'm just trying to become more aware. Whenever I kind of have these submissive tendencies, or those common scenarios where someone asks me to do something for them, or they cross a particular boundary of mine, of course you actually have to know what your boundaries are at first, because otherwise people are just going to keep walking all over you. But it's things like, in the moment, just learning to say no more. Learning to say no if you're taking on too much responsibility. And then paired with not apologizing after. Because a lot of people try to explain themselves after an apology, like they need a reason to say no to something, when actually they're just weakening their stance. Like, you're perfectly within your rights to say no to anything. You shouldn't actually have to give like a reason for saying no to something, in most situations anyway. And it's also just learning to speak up, even when it's small things. Like someone told me the example of like, you know, you order food in a restaurant. I've done this before. You order food in a restaurant and they bring out the wrong food. Maybe you order a cheeseburger, they forgot the cheese or something. Maybe they gave you like a completely different meal. And you think, oh, I should probably say something, but you stay silent because you think, oh, I'm just causing too much trouble, or I'm a burden to these people, they're just doing their job. Small things like that are the perfect opportunity to practice this skill of like just standing up for yourself. The opposite of people pleasing. So have a think about what those little opportunities might be for you. I'm probably going to explore this topic in greater detail in a longer video to come with some more like common scenarios, but those are just my thoughts for now. Have a good one, man. See you in the next one.